Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about one of the most divisive decisions that Blizzard has made for Mists of Pandaria and really cover how the people truly feel about it. And of course, I'm talking about LFR and LFR being excluded from MoP and people wanting it back. Now, this isn't just a MoP decision. This was made for Cataclysm as well with Dragon Soul when it originally first came out. They just decided to stick with the Celestial Titan rune system and go forward with that. So here in Mists of Pandaria, they thought it worked well in Dragon Soul and Kata, so they decided to keep it out of there. And I personally am with them. I agree with it. I don't necessarily understand why people want LFR, other than one key argument, which I will definitely discuss later in my final thoughts section of this video. But first, I want to cover the people's opinions and other voices and opinions other than my own and my experiences. So without further ado, we're going to switch it over to the LFR forum thread that is blowing up and being very popular. That was posted a few days ago. So I'm going to head over there and I'll see you then. Voop. Alrighty, so we're here with a pretty simple post by Chrissy right here. It says, "Let us casuals who have already once seriously rated in our young age experience the game in a relaxed manner." It has 98 likes and a ton of replies and everything else. And so while this is from the beginning of MoP, this debate transcends and keeps going and going and going. But the points are the same, and I just really want to cover it and give you guys the opinions of the people and really, have this discussion and put it out there. And hopefully we can come to some compromise or just, shine some light on this divisive subject. So Deaths is Bounty says, "Casuals have been raiding Classic WoW no problem for 6 years. Literally nothing has changed that's preventing casuals from raiding. Casuals rated Vanilla Classic just fine without LFR. Rated TBC Classic just fine without LFR. Rated Watlake just fine without LFR. And rated Kata Classic just fine without LFR. Literally nothing changes in MoP Classic, which requires this entire game mode for casuals in order to raid. Casuals won't play and enjoy your dead game mode in 2 to 3 months. Well, it's September now from this posting, and it's definitely very much so alive, although stagnating, still alive. Casuals have been in a vast majority of the classic population since 2019. The casuals continue to be a majority for MoP as well. People said the same thing when we were asking for random dungeon finder. Casuals have been running dungeons in classic WoW no problem without random dungeon finder. It was BS then and it is BS now. RDF makes sense though, because dungeons are a quick 20-minute thing you can do 10,000 times if you want. A raid is a once-a-week event per character on normal, completely different set of circumstances. I do agree with Death is Bounty here on that. Your definition of casual is not everybody's definition of casual. Very good point. Everybody vastly differs on the casual. This is a really good point, though. My Classic WoW server had tons of guilds that didn't clear BWL while it was current, didn't clear AQ while it was current, didn't remotely get close to Nax while it was current, or SSC or TK. They didn't cry and complain for an easier method of raiding. They all showed up, got gear, what they could, and give it their all, and cleared what they could. The MoP devs are continuing to embrace that, and I commend them." So a few points I want to talk about right here at this very moment is this is pretty accurate. However, the arguments that I really don't understand are the people saying that like LFR before anywhere other than Dragon Soul. Dragon Soul is when LFR was originally introduced, and then it carried over to MoP. And so any other thing before that doesn't really make much sense to me, like as far as an argument to defend this. And a big principle that the classic experience is trying to capture is recreating the game in its original form to the best of our abilities to give everyone an original taste of the expansion. Obviously, there's so many changes and so much differs. The players playing are vastly different than the people that were playing it 12 years ago in MoP's case. And so it's really tough to capture that original thing, but a lot of the key features are in there, and a lot of things are like in their best efforts to create that experience. Obviously, times change, and there is some reason for some changes, but like a core system like LFR is a massive deal, and so that philosophy is where it sort of differs quite a bit, and I'm just a little curious on that. Then we continue to hear what people are saying. RDF makes sense to you because you want it. LFR doesn't make sense to you because you don't want it. That's the whole story. The argument we made for RDF is the same argument we can make for LFR. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. Stop trying to decide how other people should play. Or it's literally exactly what I wrote. The need to find instant groups for something you want to do as 100 times a week has more of a purpose than something you should do once a week. I literally wrote that, and you wrote it off as nothing. LFR absolutely kills the vast majority of guilds who only plan to run normal raids, since there's no point in doing normal with LFR in the game. The item level difference is trivial for 99% of the content, so what's important, trying to click a button and like 3 eye levels worth at worst of gear for nothing. All it does is widen the gap between heroic guilds and casual guilds. Casuals go to LFR, sweats do heroic. Everyone in the middle is forced downwards since they aren't good enough, so sweaty enough for heroic. Pug scenes for normal 100% die. With LFR, I personally think killing 50% of 75% of casual guilds for a toxic wasteland of crap rating is bad for the game, and the devs completely agree. So, I mean, that is very wrong, because like LFR gear for MSV, for example, is 476, and the normal gear is 489, so it is 13 eye levels, and it is a complete tier. Maybe later on that becomes more true, but right now it is a pretty big gap, and especially with item upgrades coming. Well, I guess everything could go up 8, so item upgrades don't really matter in that sense. But yeah, like, I am so torn because I do understand where Death is coming from, and I do agree with a lot of the points he's saying, but to say it's completely trivial, I don't really know about that. Pug scene true, pretty much true. There are minimal groups in retail, even now for new raids on normal. Now it's either LFR or straight to heroic, though I think mythic difficulty did add to this on the other end as well. Heroic is the new normal in retail, or LFR is, depending how you look at it. I still do want LFR, though, and being completely honest, I do not have the patience to do coordinated raiding on more than like 2 characters, so I'd be running All-Star 100% of the time as well, kill time. Normal and retail exists for like a few weeks, but then Mythic Plus comes out and eye level is no point, so it's just a retail argument. Everything you say is wrong. LFR is raiding without a schedule, without a predetermined team. Log in when you're able to, and that does not exist in this current form. Casuals literally cannot raid right now. How about if you don't like it, you don't use it? They're more talking about retail there. I want to try to find the better arguments, but these people just keep going back and forth. This is a really good post here. People have pointed out in multiple threads that normal raids are easy, but to me, that just means we should have LFR wings equivalent to normal raids with the same difficulty and drop, so we can have more accessible normal raids. They could do heroic LFR as well, and while it may involve some wiping, I expect, especially in Classic, that people would manage to do most bosses with random groups and queues. That way, their dungeon system can still act as a catch-up gearing system with LFR level loot, and people will have an accessible rating progression path in Classic via LFR. Rating being the only in-game progression path, and old versions of the game would still be preserved, and more players would have access to do it and enjoy it. Guilds or pre-made group finder-created pugs could still raid in their more organized and more effective groups if they wanted. Other players could solo queue for LFR. Some would queue in small groups. So this goes back and forth for a very long time, but I think I have covered the key points that most people are making, the debate that you guys need to hear and understand. So my opinion on this is I'm all for Celestial. I didn't see a need for an LFR personally. I've used Celestials to gear all my characters. All my characters have the 2 set, like right here. To get my 2 set on my monk, I went and got the Celestial legs, the same moment the Heart of Fury gear came out. And I have, what's even funnier is I also have the Heroic gloves. So my 2 set is comprised of Celestial and Heroic, but 0 normal gear. So like my character is a hodgepodge of doing normal, Celestial, Heroic. Like I just have a lot of the gear for whatever it is, and just sort of upgrading my character by doing those systems in the game. There are 2 points, and these reasons are what sway me on why we should have LFR, and I don't see a point in not having it. To me, at first, I was like, Celestials are a great substitute. Celestials get you all the gear. Celestials you can do always. You can queue them up. You can spam them. You can get the gear you want. So from a loot perspective and gear perspective, it is very easy, very alt-friendly, very nice to go out there and go do that on your own time. However, 2 key points is 1, as I mentioned earlier, preserving the classic experience. Whether or not everybody hates it, whether or not the former devs disagree with it, whether or not you're changing it in retail, the point of classic is to preserve the original experience and try to give that to the players the best you can. LFR was a core system in MoP, and it is the first time LFR is in the game from the start to finish, because it only came in Dragon's Soul. So LFR is honestly a core feature of MoP, in my opinion, and I do think removing it, and as you can see, it's created a lot of backlash too from a lot of the casual people who really want it. I think it should be in now. At first I was like, Celestial Dungeons are great, but I do think LFR should be added to the game. And the second reason why is because it exposes you to the raids. While Celestial Dungeons have raid mechanics pop up randomly, it's only 3 of them, and most of them are the actual heroic mechanics too. So like, it doesn't teach anyone going into the normal. Like the whirlwind that sucks you in is a heroic mechanic. You only see that doing the second boss on heroic. And so I feel like that's a bit weird to throw that in there. I think they should have stuck with normal mechanics only to sort of teach people that. But on the same note, being in the room and seeing the raids and getting that exposure helps a lot for players who have never raided before, who might not have that experience. I personally have never done these MoP raids. I spend hours watching old 12-year-old Fat Boss video guides to learn the fights and then convey that to my guild, and hopefully we can formulate a strategy and clear the raid on normal with then working on some heroic progs. That's my plan. That's what I'm doing. But I run a community guild, so anyone who watches my videos can come and join, or anyone that wants to just have a place to raid. You don't even have to watch my videos, but that's probably where you know me from. I started with SOD, and I brought all my SOD raiders over here, and we've had a tough learning curve, and I've had to remove people because they were just not good enough to do MoP raiding, and that sucked, and I hated that, but it is what it is. I either have to pick a successful raid team or, suffer and not be able to get things done, and I hated that. But the point is that LFR is a core system of MoP, in my opinion, and I don't see any harm from having it in there. Keep Celestials in, keep LFR in. Like, we can have Celestials and we can have LFR. Let people do LFR if they want to do LFR. Let people do Celestials if they do Celestials. I don't think there's any harm in giving people exposure to the raid and letting people choose what they want to do. And you can even reward Celestial fragments for doing the LFR stuff. Just, it's another thing that people could do to play the game with their friends. And I don't see any harm with putting it in there and allowing people to, see the raids and have fun and play the game they want to play. And with that is my opinion on the LFR, and hopefully I've shined a decent enough light on it. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. If there's anything you think I missed, anything you'd like to add, definitely drop it down below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And until next time, I'll see you later. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hey you. Yes you. Are you still there? Well, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this entire video and making it to the end here. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out the other videos about World of Warcraft listed in these playlists down below. And thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.